Today we have Lara Nakonechny joining us today on the podcast. And Lara has struggled with work, life, and motherhood balance and found herself spiraling in a world of avoidance, addiction, and pain. As she worked through her Akashic guide, the newfound clarity and self-discovery took her down a transformative path, paving a new road for a woman desiring more balance and authenticity. Her story had some big ups and downs, and she found her way through it all with her devotion to her spiritual practice and her deep desire for inner peace and strength. Lara, I am so excited to have you here today. You have no idea. I have been thinking about you. I've been thinking about this podcast, and I've been thinking about what is the best way to introduce the world, your listeners, your followers into this while getting to know you even better. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to do so. Welcome, Lara.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm really excited as well. And I think that there's so much to share today. So I just really, it's perfect timing for me. And I wanted to really take the time to thank you as well for hosting me, because I know you've kind of been chasing me for this for a few months, and I've finally committed to it. So I'm happy we're here and that it's all gonna unfold today.
Me too. So let's jump right in. When you started your Akashic journey, what was the foundation you had before you bought into the energy work? And how did you know it was making a difference within your life?
I think it started, I have early memories being very young and just having this deep sense and knowing that I felt different. And I know a lot of people can resonate with this, because anyone that's been down this path stands out a little in comparison to some of the other people that they've come in contact over the years. And I was lucky enough to have been raised in a very loving and nurturing family full of, deep love. I have a huge family of sisters, and my parents instilled very early the importance of connecting to God. For us and our family, it was through the Catholic faith, and it was powerful. It set up amazing values and guided us through some very turbulent times in my childhood. So I'm extremely grateful for the groundwork that they laid for us, and specifically for myself. But kind of going back to that knowing of being a little bit different, I have memories of recognizing the spirit world really early, and I had a lot of encounters with what I didn't even know what was really happening until later in life when I looked back at it. But I definitely felt spirits around me as a child. And because I'm a twin, I think that I was just a little bit more open intuitively because of the power of the twin vibe that I have with my sister, that it was just always very open. So when you're open that way, you attract it.
Mhm.
And I didn't have a relationship with my grandparents, because they all passed when I was before I was born, or as I was really young. But I do remember always feeling the presence of them, like I knew them.
Whoa, that's pretty cool. How did you feel that presence in the spirit?
I always thought it was God. And and now, like, as I've journeyed through life, like, God's within me, so I recognize God in a different vibration, like it comes through me, it's not external of me. So
Mhm.
when I look back, those moments I thought that that was God were my ancestors. And my grandfather specifically, I'm not sure which one, I just always kind of, he looked like a grandpa, sat on the edge of my bed. And so as a kid, I would wake up and I wasn't scared. It didn't feel at all like it wasn't a natural thing. I just felt really comforted. And sometimes I would also feel uh, a sense of like a comforting hand on my foot. And so to me, that was just kind of like a little weird. Like that to me was like, I didn't even want to tell anybody that that was happening, because I, at a young age, sensed that it wouldn't be received, because I think this is what society does, is tell us that you can't be different. You can't, you might be you might be perceived as being weird or freaky or something if you let everybody know, like just kind of a
Mhm.
childhood brain around it, like not
Yeah,
really what I would think of now, but lots of little moments like that.
really. Especially growing up in like a Catholic centered family with a different view on spirituality, having stories come up like that or experiences come up like that would have a different pathway of acceptance as well. It'd be more of like, oh, because you're experiencing this, it's more of an evil rather than a good. So now that you're looking back into those experiences and having this knowledge and this understanding of the spirit, how do you help guide those experiences to not only be good, but to be able to build upon for what you're doing now and the future?
Well, I guess those experience, like accepting those experiences, was the first step, that I was different and that I could step into this. It's kind of like coming out of the spiritual closet, I guess you could say, where it took me on a journey of looking back at all of those things and understanding deeply, just this deep sense and knowing that none of it was evil. It all felt safe. None of it showed me a dark path, and none of it took me down a road I regret. So
Mhm.
that deep knowing started to like really kind of accelerate my process. I was like, okay, I know that this is within me, so let's see where this goes.
Mhm.
And I think one of the things that always gets in the way for me is just being accepted in this way, accepted by my family and not judged, because my beliefs are starting to show a bit of difference. Like I believe we all come from the same loving God, but because mine doesn't travel down a conventional Catholic path anymore, there's always that fear of like, am I really going to be accepted by and loved the same?
Mhm.
And when I turn around, are there things that are being said that I don't want to hear, like that could be hurtful.
Mhm.
And then even with this, like stepping out and telling the world more of my story, I think the only fears, well, it brought up some fears for me, of being too much, of being too big, too loud, too much. And there's always the fear of judgment from your peers and your friends. And it's just something I think everyone constantly has to consider as they move through these paths in life.
Because you're here right now and because you decided to actually step into this, what were the fear confrontations that you were able to have with yourself, and how were you able to step into courage in order to get to this point?
That's a great question, actually, because I'm still doing it. So, but I have like an arsenal of tools now. So, my own spiritual practice and the devotion to it on a regular basis helps. That connection has opened the channels of wisdom that come through the Akashic Records. But it's also allowed me to really deeply understand who I am and my values at my core, and stand in my truth and know that I deserve what the universe is trying to prepare me for, and I deserve the gifts of it all. But I can't actually accept any of them if I don't know who I am and what
Mhm.
And like, I'm talking like to the depths of like knowing my beliefs around God and knowing my beliefs around my spirituality, and really there's been layers of it and layers of it, and people have shown up in my life to kind of test those waters. And every time, you know, as you mentioned in the intro, like those big ups and downs, like those are big. And I think when you walk down this path, that's what you prepare yourself for, is the big ones, you know, like when life takes me down, I go down deep. And you know, my spiritual health is tested, my mental health is tested, my relationships are tested. But when I come out the other side, if I am devotional in my spiritual practice, the answers start coming, the doors start opening, the light kind of peeks through the cracks in the clouds, and that's God. Like that is the opening for me to see a way out of the darkness. And I think it's powerful. And it's what motivates me to do this work, because I have seen the massive transformations I've had in my life. I've been through some really heavy blocks and barriers, and I've come out of the other side noticeably different. Every time when I look back at myself, like, who was I 6 months ago? I'm different. I am different at my core. I feel like my DNA changes. And it's because of this type of work, you can see these massive transformations. It's powerful.
So I have two questions. The first one is, how do you practice your devotional with the divine? And yeah, let's start there.
Okay.
How do you practice that devotional?
For me, it's a daily practice. I take moments of self-care, which I know has kind of been thrown around really easily, but caring for my spirit, it's very different. Like I'm in the beauty industry, so I know all about the things that we can do to just really love ourselves and come, you know, experience these things that make us feel better. But the self-care for me is like it's all the small moments, the moments where I open the book and I'm reading something that has wisdom to it. That to me is part of my daily practice. I do read a lot of kind of spiritual and self-care books, and so I usually start my morning with a little bit of reading. Sometimes I listen to a guided meditation. Sometimes I just guide myself through my own meditation. And I've recently taken a Reiki course, and that's been a huge part of my spiritual practice. It's kind of been a little bit of the missing link that I still can't believe that I waited this long to take this course, because it's been so transformational for me. It's just deepened my connection to the divine. It's opened up the light in a channel that allows me to feel the benefits and see results on a daily basis. So every morning is a little bit different. It depends on how much time I have. And if it's a quick one where it's only 15 to 20 minutes, you know, there's no punishment around that. Like that's better than zero. And I also, in those moments where it doesn't feel like it's as long as I probably needed, I try to take some time in the evening that night. I love having baths, lighting a candle, Epsom salts, really just kind of grounding into the elements of the minerals and the water. I always call them my emotional baths, you know, like it's kind of when it lets me let go. And sometimes tears come, but I also it's just an open channel. I hear some of the wisdom. I hear some of the messages that I maybe didn't have the chance to hear in the morning. And then I think the third part of that spiritual practice is really caring for my body. I go to the gym. I love the mind-body connection of that feeling of strength. Going to the gym frequently has got me through some rough times when I felt super, super weak. It was always a place that made me feel powerful. So even if I didn't feel powerful spiritually or emotionally, I physically feel powerful. So it's
Mhm,
really just the connection of all of the elements. It's
mhm,
the mental, the spiritual, and the physical, and deeply nourishing my body, making sure that I'm keeping my vibration high by limiting caffeine and alcohol and choosing really nourishing foods that kind of continue to help me feel my best and show up for myself so that I can be a great mother and a great leader in my salon and a great friend.
mhm. Yeah. Amazing. I think no matter what other religious background you have or how you are able to connect with the divine or God, I think we all have this sense within us, um, to practice a, how do I put this, a self-love that is guided through the connection to a higher being. And like for me, I grew up with in a Christian home. So we had, our daily bread. And when my grandparents would sit every single morning and they would read their devotional, right? And that's how they were able to connect on a daily basis to the divine. And one of the cool things that you were saying is that it allowed you to go through the hard times easier. So do you mind expanding on how that transformation happened, how you were able to, what kind of hard times you were going through? I know it's going to be pretty vulnerable and you're going to have to step into a lot of courage in this moment, but do you mind sharing what they were, and then the outcome of having that spiritual connection with the divine, and walking us through not only the importance of being connected with the divine, but also how it helped you?
Yeah, definitely. This will be a test in my vulnerability. These last few years have been hard for all of us, I think. I think the world kind of threw at us some big ones. And I guess when I think of the hard paths, somewhere around 2008, uh, like I was married, and I was going through the motions of just trying to find this balance, and I was failing miserably at it. I think that I have always walked in this culture of distraction and suppression of emotions. And for me, that started really young. But I think it was really highlighted when things got tough for me. And so my connection to alcohol was really strong. As life got harder, I found more and more excuses and reasons to drink. And I think for sure it numbed me for a lot of years.
Mhm,
And I can definitely say that it contributed to a very poor marriage. I don't think I had any deep connection to myself
mhm,
because of the numbing. So, how could I be a loving and supportive wife? How could I be an amazing mother? How could I be a good friend when it was all just plagued with destruction, basically?
mhm,
And
mhm,
I thought it was fun. I actually, when I look back at it, I thought it was a way of letting loose and, coping with stress, but it actually taught me zero coping skills. I
mhm,
didn't know how to cope. I didn't. And so when life got really hard, it all fell apart. I
mhm,
had just opened a salon. So this was in 2015. and 12, and I had a few stylists. And very soon into the opening of the salon, one of my youngest sister was diagnosed with cancer. And it just rocked me. It rocked my faith. And it highlighted, like in hindsight, it highlighted all my weaknesses. I spiraled in the salon, making bad choices. I couldn't connect to my staff and give them what they really needed. So there was a lot of anger, which is what alcohol does to us. Like it destroys our liver, and that is where anger comes from. And suppressed emotions really love the liver. And so when it's angry, it's fiery. And so I just wasn't my best self. And it kind of took me down. It was a long road. It was a long road. I don't think I had any tools to support myself. I was definitely getting treatments from other women with amazing modalities. I had a good friend that did body talk, and I felt good from that. I was seeing transformations. I was doing some inner work, but it also was a bit of a distraction. I wasn't doing my work. I was going outward to have someone heal me. And I wasn't really taking a deep look at myself. And then I met my mentor, Tara, and she started taking me through the Akashic Path. And that's where I started to build my own tools. But within that, I was deepening into a stronger knowing of self. And a desire. All the desires started to come up to be a better mother, to be a better business owner, to be a better friend. And unfortunately, in that deep knowing of myself, things started to fall away. And I think the biggest casualty in that period of my life was the loss of my marriage. We had gone so many years in this fighting mode that I didn't even know if it was repairable anymore. And I gave up. And it was a long journey coming back from that. I think I can only take responsibility for my own story and my own part in this, because that's all we can do in life. I'm not going to sit here and blame anybody else but myself for my life. And as everything fell apart, it forced me to really deepen into the word surrender. I had to surrender. It felt like I was losing it all. I was losing my sister. I was losing friends. I lost my marriage. I was now a single mother. I had all this debt, and it was painful, but still I drank. But still I chose to escape. And so that path didn't need to go on for that long. I could have easily just really taken that next step to get more clear and to open up to the true healing. But I still chose alcohol. And although I didn't consider myself an alcoholic, I think I was an abuser of alcohol for sure. I chose it to hide and to suppress and to distract. I used it in ways that I thought I was connecting with people, but it was very fake. It wasn't real. None of it was real. It was all plagued by this falseness, because you can't have deep connection when you're using alcohol and drugs. Like the spirit is hidden. And all of that is around. So to just go back to the story of it all, I needed it to get that bad, to really deepen into surrendering to my faith. And then in slow ways, the light appeared. it appeared in very small step ways. Like I would take a step and then I would see a little bit of benefit from it. And then I would take another step and then I would fall back again and things would kind of crumble. And then I would just pick myself back up and do the work, come back to the spiritual practice. And then the magic would happen. And there would be moments where I'm like, I had never felt this great. Like when I was really consistent, it didn't matter what was happening in my life. I can't even describe to you. It was just like magic inside, and doors were opening and people were showing up, and love was really entering in these big powerful ways. So without, I don't think I could have experienced the gratitude. All that love was always there, but without the darkness, there was nothing to measure it
Yeah.
against, you know, like
Yeah.
it was always there, but because I needed to go down to the depths of it, you know, I can understand when people talk about mental health issues, like it was real. There were
Yeah.
moments of like, I can't go on. I can't do this. I didn't necessarily have thoughts of the action around it, thank God. But there were many, many moments where I didn't want to continue like this. I didn't want another day like this. It felt like poison within me. And it was just, it was pain. It was pain. It was deep rooted pain and trauma. And it needed to be visited. It needed to be looked at, and it needed some light. It needed the light to come in. And this is where God came in for me. In the surrender of it, God was always there. I just needed to quiet the noise.
Yeah.
And
100%. 100%. Because there's a few takeaways from what you said. So if you don't mind, the first takeaway that I observed was the importance of taking responsibility in our own actions, even though, especially in a relationship, even though our partner or ex-partner still contributed, we made hell worse. And I know your story. And one of my favorite things about our conversation right now is the vulnerability and the truth of taking ownership and responsibility over how we took part. I've had to go through a very similar pathway with my ex, and that was hard because it's so much easier to blame anybody else except for yourself and to take ownership for it. And that's an extremely difficult thing to do. So first of all, I want to say I'm so proud of you for taking that on.
thank you.
The other thing that I heard, and please correct me if I'm wrong with what I'm going to say, is that in the spiral of trying to cope and trying to self-medicate is the fact that our society has given us a way to have topical medicine or medication that in order to numb us rather than to actually dig in deeper and see, okay, well, where am I? What is actually happening? And how am I actually contributing to my own situation?
It's been a huge part of our culture, and it just comes down to distraction. And if it's not alcohol for you, there is something else that's there. But I think what it does, there's also this like this our culture, society also likes to kind of suppress the spiritual uprising. And so a lot of people out there doing great work, healing and opening doors and paths for people, they're not accepted fully yet, like it's not really like the society's not really open, like we don't have proof, we don't have
Mhm,
science, we don't have all of the things that is what society tells you is acceptable.
mhm,
They're all intuitively based, and we've been told since we were born not to trust our intuition. That deep
mhm,
knowing inside has been suppressed from a very, very early age.
mhm.
And it's one of the things that we're all trying to, in this spiritual community, trying to change. Like nobody knows your story more than you.
Mhm.
Society can't tell you
So,
who you are. It's your story, and you have every right for the sovereignty around it and your
mhm,
choice. Government can't tell you what that story is. Your family can't even tell you what that story is. Your partner can't. It's yours. It's uniquely imprinted in your soul. And it's from
100.
this lifetime, it's from all of the lifetimes previous to your existence here on earth now.
Mhm,
And I think one of the powerful ways for all of us to journey, like I couldn't have done it with the friends and the support that I had. Like I wouldn't have had the tools. And so this is the secret behind some of these mental health pieces is like build your arsenal, have a devotional spiritual practice, figure out what that is for you, because it's going to be unique. You're not
mhm,
going to walk into um, a religion and find that. You can be religious,
mhm,
definitely, but your own spirit is yours. Like your connection to
mhm.
God is uniquely imprinted and it is only yours.
Now, a word from our title sponsor. Online shopping is always a daunting task, and even though you have spent hours researching and reading reviews, you never really know if what you bought will actually fit. Let us take the headache out of online shopping. Perfect is building a solution that helps people find perfect fitting clothing online, no matter your body shape and size. Our technology creates the most realistic representation of the shopper and the garment in the digital world, but we are just getting started.
The best way to support this innovation is by purchasing your perfect merchandise and testing out our technology for yourself. Your purchase will allow us to continue to hire incredible talent and revolutionize the way that we shop online. Visit Perfit.Digital, that is Perfit.Digital.
And now back to our regular programming.
100%.
Sure.
Now, my question is, because you touched base on this, on the tools. What are the tools, and how can you equip yourself on these tools? Because for myself personally, I've been on this spiritual journey for a long time, a long time. And just recently, I would say within the last 3 years, I've understood the importance of having communion with God. Like before, I would call God upon God when I need it,
Mhm.
right? And I think that that's what we do when we're at the brink of our existence of, okay, I can no longer deal with this, God, take this away, right? We try to use God as a scapegoat. Okay, now we've done
Save
everything,
us.
here you go, save us,
Save us.
right? Yeah, where now there's a real communion with when God and I just talk,
Mhm.
and we'll have conversations, and it'll just be me either contemplating or me saying my gratitude, or just me connecting. And there's obviously, like, my life is not great, it is not perfect, it has nothing like that, but it's in a state where God and I are in communion. We're constantly going back and forth. It's on a daily basis. There's so what are the tools that you have been able to gather, especially as a teacher, especially as an Akashic energy guide? What are those tools, and how can we gather those tools?
Yeah, great question. I think there's so many elements to this, and it's very unique to each one of us. But like I talked a lot about just getting to know yourself and your own connection to your spirit. And so that's like a huge part of just the discovery, and that's lifelong. That goes on forever and ever and ever. And then I think what COVID taught me, and I think many people, was the value and the importance of community. You know, when we see each other suffering, we suffer, and that needs attention, and that needs strength. And so there's this collective energy that happens when you have community. It's found in communities of friendships. But really just recognizing when your neighbor is suffering, whether that's a friend or someone you're not close to, we all suffer. And that is collective pain. And the way we move through that is through action. Like, communities require coming together. And so it's like I've had some powerful experiences in collective work, group sessions with women, and there's something powerful about storytelling in that, you know, just learning from each other's stories and supporting each other's vulnerability so that we can keep our hearts open. And when we shut down, there is no such thing as community. So coming to community with all your vulnerability and not being concerned about the judgment, because in true community, there is no judgment. We're here for each other. And I think that's kind of what powers me to lead the salon, because in the way that I desire to, because that's my community. Like, I want my staff to feel supported and held, and I want them to be. I want the salon to be a place where they can express their truest self and have the freedoms and the flexibilities that they need for their families. And then so from community, that takes us into some different modalities. You know, I think if you don't have a strong practice in any of these spiritual modalities, all it takes is a little bit of research and kind of follow the path that calls your name. And some of the opening doors that are easy to walk through are modalities like Reiki. You know, like, there's powerful healing physically, emotionally, and spiritually that can be done through the healing touch of Reiki. And that is God source light energy. Like, that, it just feels like a miracle when you need it. And it will provide you, at the very, very least, comfort. But at the very most, powerful miracles and transformation and healing. And I've been witnessing it on a very regular basis. And it has been just as powerful for me as a spiritual guide to be able to provide that for my community and for my family. I think for huge transformational work, Akashic Records have been what has opened up just the gates for me. Like, I have cleared. So just to tell you a little bit about the work that we do in the Akasha. So instead of just jumping right into it, because I'm sure a lot of your listeners might not have heard anything about it, but it's ancient wisdom. Like, it transcends time, and it is seen in my mind's eye like a library, and every soul has its own story. And in my mind's eye, I visualize a book. And so our stories are right next to the people that we are encountering on a regular basis, family or friends or relationships. So those stories are connected. And that story goes back to the beginning of your soul's existence. And so those stories, our souls have created through experiences with other souls, soul level blocks. And so what I do as a guide, I help guide you to the story. And so it's an open channel of story message that comes through me. And sometimes I still, like, I can't let myself doubt it because I have seen the transformations that happen. But it's big, and I trust it. I deeply, deeply trust this work, and it will be relatable to you, and you'll see how that story has played out in your life currently.
Mhm.
And these blocks will be soul level contracts or belief systems, things that show up from our lineage in our family, from the collective energy of society. It'll be mother wounds, father wounds, wounds from our past lives that we can't in our consciousness remember. So
Mhm.
it's a guided process of really kind of unfolding what that story is. And when that block has been cleared, it's transformational. Like, I have seen some huge things for my clients happen for them.
Mhm.
Instead of always feeling like these things happen to me, it's a gift. This is happening for you. And it just kind of like unravels the layers of what the ego has kind of wrapped these blocks up into. It just kind of all dissolves. And that disillusion, actually, it's affecting everybody. So when they say, I'm sure you've heard this before, when you heal yourself, you heal the world. Because within this changes how I show up.
Mhm.
I'm showing up with less resistance. I'm showing up with less pain. I'm showing up moving forward in life. And so all of the people in my life are responding and reacting to this movement
Mhm.
because Lara's different now. And so that reflection of the people around me, they're showing up differently. We're not triggering each other in that way anymore.
Mhm.
And sometimes, it takes some adjustment, like I've also had some big conversations and some fights, because it's just kind of getting used to the new energy. Okay, it's like boundary work. You show up differently. So everybody in the world, and specifically the people that are close to you, have to readjust to the new energy that you're holding, because the block is gone.
Mhm.
And because of the nature of that we have in society and families, and codependency. Like, codependency exists in every relationship that you have to some degree. So when you start to see your close loved ones changing, you as a soul have a decision to make for yourself. Do I deepen into my own work and change as well? Or is this a moment where I choose to fall away from this person? Like, it just, there's only two outcomes that happen from it.
Mhm.
So in the spiritual, like, I guess going back to kind of more of the general sense, I think there's so many modalities out there to support you.
Mhm.
You just have to start looking and have these conversations. Like, what have you done with your friends? Like, what has worked for you? And so for some people, it's just deepening into their commitment to prayer. But I also truly believe that we get to a certain point where our ego gets too strong and we can't hear the messages, and we start to kind of get closed off a little bit. And that's what I call stuck energy. And when you feel that stuck energy, open the door and ask for help.
Yeah.
Always there. The
No,
help is always there.
no, for sure. And one of the things that I wanted to, how do I say this? One of the things that I wanted to make sure we touch base on is the fact that we have the capabilities to not only go and explore the modalities on our own, but we also have the ability to ask ourselves questions to start the process, right? Just take some alone time to just ask ourselves hard questions. And I'm going to be create even more controversy with quoting Jordan B. Peterson, but one of the things that he says that I really like is ask yourself in a space that you like, sit down and ask yourself, what is it that I know I should be doing, that I'm not doing, that will make me better? Right? Just that simple question is so transformative that when you actually take the time to do it and to sit with it, learn from it, and move forward, it really creates a snowball effect. And from my understanding, from what I've heard from you, and from what I know of you, is that those important yet simple questions allow you to continuously move, seek, and act to become different, to become better, to become more influential, right? And
What
yeah.
else is what else is there? All of the rest of it just becomes noise. Like
Mhm.
this journey of spirituality, it invokes healing. Like it comes with it.
Mhm.
And with healing comes pain. We call it shadow work for a reason.
100%.
It's dark and it's dirty. But with the proper support, it's hugely helpful. Like I do believe you can journey through a lot of your own issues with self-inquiry. Like
Mhm.
you can ask yourself those questions, and then definitely really falling into the mindset of like, what are my truest and deepest desires? Like, what do I desire to change? Just the conscious awareness of what you want to change began the shifting already.
Mhm.
It moving into the thought process was the shift. Like, okay, that means I have a desire to change. And then the universe, this is the part of co-creation that I love, because then the universe steps in and starts showing you the doorways, the hallway, the path. And the doors start to slowly open, and you're like, okay, I'm choosing this way. And if you're clear, like, you can really work with this type of energy and
Mhm.
just ask for the next step. Like, this is what I do constantly when I feel stuck. I connect to the divine, and I say, this is a part of surrender that's really powerful. Show me the next piece. Like,
Mhm.
show me the next piece. And with as little resistance as I can, I walk forward in that piece, and it shows up. It'll show up that day or the next day. And in the trust of it all, that it is showing up, it shows up strong. If
Mhm.
you have doubt that it's coming, that's going to kind of like, it's going to be a little foggy. So you just have to trust in God that this is the part of co-creation. I show up with the desire, the universe sets the tone. Like it really, we work hand in hand with being able to journey. Like, we're never alone.
Mhm.
We're never alone. There's this piece of where I might be segueing here, but it has been a long journey for me. I think the word lonely rang true for me for years. So through the alcohol and through the distractions, I dug this huge hole of loneliness.
Oh, you and
And,
me both, sister. You and me both.
and I think
Ah.
COVID really highlighted that for a lot of us. I think people saw how lonely they were in their marriages. We saw a lot of people take the step to move away from these connections. Um, and and loneliness was just a big theme. There was just a lot of people really connecting to that word. But when you can deepen into your faith, you are never alone. You are
Mhm.
always, and although it may be dark, as soon as that light glimmers through the clouds and cracks in, it is there is no such thing as
Yeah,
loneliness.
it's magnificent. Mhm.
It is magnificent, and it's meant, that feeling of loneliness is meant to be used to retract. Like, okay, so take some time for yourself. You're lonely because you've been burning the candle at both ends, and you've been pushing and working and all of the things, and you forgot a piece of yourself, your spirit, because
Yeah.
your spirit can't operate like that 100%. There's times where you have to go in life, but
Mhm.
you have to be able to balance that energy with that time that we need for self-care, that time that the spirit needs our attention and our love. And that's the balance we strive for. Like, we're always
Mhm.
looking for that the yin and the yang of life, the masculine and the feminine, that internal balance where we're not alone because we have opened up our heart to receive like the true love of the divine. It exists within all, it's always been there. You
Mhm.
just cannot keep hiding it.
I 100% agree. And one of the things about that is the fact that, to take something from scripture, from the Bible, is that we are made in God's image, right? So I take that to another extent. One of the things with my oldest daughter that we used to do a lot, and now I do with my youngest, and is that we do a small like a little meditation before bed, and it's just a repetition of this. Now this is me being vulnerable. It's we are made in God's image, and because we are made in God's image, we are godlike. We have the ability to create our past, our present, and our future. Because we are made in God's image, we are made perfect. In our perfection, we can show up with love, with empathy. Because I am perfect, because I am godlike, I love myself, I love God, and I love others. And that is one of the things that has allowed an openness for our interactions with ourselves and with others, that allows us to be centered within the knowing and the feeling of God and of love. And I think that because of it, even though there's been some real tumultuous parts in life, having that as our centerpiece and as a foundation of who we are, like when my oldest and I were going through like an extraordinarily hard time, we consistently came back to that love and empathy, love and empathy, love and empathy. And then we were able to start sharing that love and empathy with not only ourselves and the pain that we were going through, but to each other. It's like, okay, I know that we can go through this, and I know that we can get to the other side. And we went through everything. We went through counseling together. We went through therapy. We went to subconscious work and started getting hypnotized in order to make sure that we can get to that root and be able to alleviate not only the pain but the deception that was felt within what was happening with us. And now, and I would say 3 years later, 4 years later, after the pain has been dealt with, after forgiveness has been asked, and proper forgiveness, not just I'm sorry and unapologize, but actually saying, this is what I did, and taking responsibility of it. Understanding how not to do it again and making a plan to not do it again. And then actually having follow through, where there's proper conversation. This is where I stand. This is where I am. And because of that, she has not only seen my truth of what apology is, but also been able to adapt it to her own personal life. And she's in grade 9 right now. And the woman that she's becoming and the woman that she is, oh my goodness, it is crazy. And then the way that she's able then to show up to her little sister, that is incredible. Like, it has like, and don't even get me started on what her little sister has taught me. It has been absolutely incredible. I knew love as a concept with her older sister and what that was like. And because she was conceived in a different way, it was, and when I was young, it just was automatic. It was instant.
Yeah.
With her little sister, learning how to choose love and truly choose love, not just have it be brought upon you, but actually understanding that it is a conscious daily choice that is compounded by the decisions of showing up, the decision of being not only a figure, but truly being a father, truly being a dad, truly showing love, not just because you have to, but because this is a desire of who you are, and that and showing up knowing that you're going to consistently hold up the mirror of all of your deficiencies through your children and through the relationships that you have and create with around you, so you're consistently becoming better and better every single day, every single time that you interact. It has been one of those things that I wouldn't have been able to understand if I didn't go through my spiritual awakening. I would say probably about 6 years ago, and then actually started acting upon it about 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now a word from our sponsors.
The most impactful leaders at some point doubt their own potential. You're no different. You're meant for greatness. So what do these thought leaders do differently? Mentorship. We all need help from someone who has gone before us and is able to believe in us when we don't, who refuse to have us play small. They challenge our excuses and inspire us to choose courage over cowardice, faith over fear, and trust over doubt. Decide on you. Decide on mentorship. Decide on impact leadership. Visit www.alphaandomegastrategies.com.
Please make sure to check out alphaandomegastrategies.com for all things growth and leadership. And at checkout, enter Perfit10, that is PERFIT 10, for an extra 10% off.
It's powerful. I like to call exactly what you're describing conscious parenting. And it's tough because you have to look at your own shadows and where you went wrong, and I can look at the difference in how I parented my son, who's 14, compared to how I'm parenting my daughter, who's 3, or she will be 3, and it's different. And there's no such thing as regrets. I was just a different person, and I didn't have the tools to parent him in this way. I'm parenting him now in this way where he needs it even more than I think he would have then. But it's very powerful to come from that place of really knowing how to connect and to remove the distractions and to build them this foundation of values and to know the power of it, where I didn't know the power. I didn't know I had all that power within me to create a child. And it, you only had that small window they say from 0 to 7. The child is living in their subconscious. And then from 7 to 9, the conscious mind starts to kick in. And so that's where all of society's patterns really start showing up for them. So it's so valuable and so important for us between the age of 0 and 7 is to lay that value system, the foundations of love.
Yeah.
And the self-love, and to eliminate the noise from society. And that's what makes it so unique. And you, as a unique soul, get to make that decision for yourself of what that looks like for your child and for your kids. And I definitely commend you. You're an amazing father. So, and there, we've done some work together, and some of the blocks that you have let go of have been huge for you to be able to really lose some of the distractions and to really deepen into your faith. And it's been a really beautiful thing to witness as well. So,
well, you've been a huge help for that. One of the things that I have loved about knowing you has been the true understanding of love that you have. You've been able to open up doors for another human being to not only pick up and walk through and then pick up the tools that you've left behind, but then be able to then have a proper understanding of what that is and how it's acted out.
Mhm.
A lot of people say that you love that they love, but they don't have the understanding of how to leave tools behind to show others how to love. Where you have done that and have done that extraordinarily well, and that it is so admirable. And
Thank you.
and the way that you share it is one of the things that I hope to be able to do. And I think that that's one of the reasons why this podcast has been something that's been so heavy in my heart to do for like 4 years, is that I've been trying to figure out how do I share this, because I'm different than you. For me, my community is very, very, very small, very tiny, but I'm learning how to get out of it. And in order for me to like make it explode, I'm like, well, the only way that I know how to make community is to go big. So that's why we're here. This is why we're having these conversations, because I think not only is it important for people to learn from masters and from people that have gone before us, but I think it's also important for people to know that wherever they are at, they can get started. And that's one of the things that when we met, you allowed me to do, and you allowed me to do very well on my time, not yours. And I commend you on that. Like, that has been, Lara, as a shaman, I'm extremely grateful for your guidance.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think the key note behind all of what you just said there, it's true unconditional love. And I had to fight through that. I didn't love myself enough to show up with love. So it's just been layers and layers of kind of letting all of these things fall away so that I could feel this type of love, because I was always chasing romantic love. And it was when you're chasing that type of love, it's from a place of emptiness. It's because of the wounds, and you've heard them. It's like the father wound and the mother wound, and it's like abandonment and not being enough and being too much and all of those things that we're seeking love as a band-aid, basically, to fill us up. It never lasts, because without that deep knowing, it's a struggle, and it will go on and on and on and wreak havoc and create lots of pain in relationship.
So much pain. Yeah. So much pain.
So sometimes, it's been a really big conscious decision for me to really go through that, is like learning that type of love, because I do believe that one of my superpowers is really just teaching people how to love. And you can't love someone else if you don't love yourself. And that it's a forever journey. And you'll get intertwined, and there'll be codependency and attachments, and all the things will show up to test you. And sometimes you need breaks, and sometimes you need to come back to yourself and be like, okay, wait, it's like this foggy distraction. What am I even doing here? Like, where is this going? Like, there's this sense of like, I'm losing myself. And I'm very attracted to the feel good about it, the lustiness and all of the things that show up as distractions. And when you go through all of the layers, it's hard, and I think we don't want to get to that place because we're scared to be alone, and we're coming back to that lonely piece. But if you are alone, well, we know we're never alone, but if you have fear about being alone, go to the resistance, like, be alone.
100%. Now,
don't fill it up. go there,
Mhm.
go there and do the work there, because that is where you'll find change.
I 100% agree. Now, to shift gears a little bit, which I think is going to be important because we've been so pro, I'm going to play the devil's advocate. And
Okay.
I'm curious, how, not necessarily how do you handle skepticism, but what would be, how do I put this properly? Because I don't want you to overcome it. I don't want it, because it's not about convincing somebody to that there's something out there. It really comes down to when a person comes to you and they're searching, but they're so hesitant. They're, even though they're searching and they're on this path, yet there's this, for lack of a better word, skepticism of what you're doing isn't actually real. How do you maneuver through that in the space of love, in the space of empathy, especially knowing what you know? When you know, for me, I've wanted to like shake people's, like grab people by the shoulder and be like, come on, guys, it's possible. There's something better or bigger here. How do you do it as a teacher, as a guide, as a guru, as a shaman?
Good question. It's tough because, like, I would love to say that there's no skeptics out there because then life would be easy, but that's part of the shadow of all of this. Like, I have to be able to know that, like, what I try to teach is just the power behind it all. And I think when you're in transformation, you know, you're uprooting some issues for yourself, right? And so there's a deep knowing that I have in this work that I'm not for everyone. I
Mhm.
wasn't put here to be on for the masses. I was here to help individuals. And if you're not resonating with my work, it's not going to work for you, because I'm not here to convince you that it is. I can show you if you journey with me, but it's. I think that skepticism comes from society's, our past, the collective energy around this being witch work, or this being not accepted by the church, or, you know. And I think that struggle will always be there, but to me it's just a noise I have to turn the volume down to, because I can't let that affect the powerful changes I'm helping the people that are on my path with. It's always going to be there. It's part of that yin and yang, you know. It's the shadow. And with skeptics, they might not be looking, they might not be ready. There's also that, it's timing. Like,
Mhm.
it might not be opening that door for you because you're not ready, and it's okay to not be ready. And I might not be your guide, and that's okay too, because it has to be a vibrational match. And let me tell you, I have the proof in so many different clients' stories about when that vibration matches, it's big transformations.
Can
It's
you give
huge.
us can you give us a couple of stories that of when somebody was able to have that really great vibrational match, and
Mhm.
when you had to be like, you know what, this isn't going to be the right fit for us?
You know, I've never had to. I've honestly never had to say this isn't going to be the right fit, because it falls away naturally.
Okay.
And and so I'm still, this is part of my trust. I have to just stay open, because I have no control in this. This is up to the divine. So they just don't book again, or they don't call. And I don't take it personally, because this is not a personal, this isn't for my personal journey. Sometimes it's more about them learning their resistance, and I have no control over that. Like, when you meet that resistance, and it might be too heavy based on your previous traumas in your life, or some experiences that you had, it just might not be the right time for you. And I just don't take it personally. When you're in the Akashic field, there's so much love and light and acceptance for everyone's specific needs, that I don't worry about those things, you know, like I've seen the transformations. And I can't, it's not, you know, it's just kind of like a friendship, you know, sometimes they fall away because of just choosing different paths. I kind of look at it like that. Like I can always know that I have deep love for whatever path you take, but it's okay if I'm not your path. Like
Mhm.
I don't have an attachment or a need to come with me, take me, like believe in me, like love me, love me, love me. You know,
Yeah.
that's not a part of the journey. I'm just staying open to letting the divine channel through me. And sometimes it doesn't work out. And I've just actually never had to say, you know, this isn't working for me. I'm maybe one day that'll show up for me to look at my own resistance around it. And I think a lot of those instances will have to do with some of my money blocks, you know, like it's just going to highlight for me, okay, I need to do some work around that because I got attached to that client, and what I was being provided was like a monetary exchange as well. So and then I'm like, okay, well, that I'm attached to the money aspect of this. So I have to like look deeply at like what my attachment is. And so when you can kind of look at it from that way, it falls in the way it's supposed to. Like there are no mistakes in life.
Because of the skepticism, because of the way that people may come to you, settling internally the fact that there are people that can look at this and be like, she's just a grifter. She's pulling the wool over the people's eyes. How, like, what have you ever come across that? If so, how did you deal with it? If not, how do you prepare for an exchange like that?
Hmm. Yeah, I haven't put much thought into that because I think I'll respond with integrity in that moment. You know, like I it is not my intention to ever make anyone feel that I'm pulling the wool over their eyes. Have there been times where I don't feel like the messages are clear and strong? Absolutely. Like, but I have witnessed every client that I've had shift in some way.
Mhm.
And I've been lucky enough, like I don't use social media a lot to kind of work with the masses. My business is based on referrals. And so when clients are referring other clients, you generally have a like-minded kind of
Mhm.
collective that you're working with. And so I just always have the desire to attract the people that are right for me in my path.
Mhm.
And I think God shows up for me in that way. Like I've been really blessed to just have the people that show up. And I'm sure that I'll get thrown one, but I don't take it personally. So if someone thinks that way, you have every right to think however you want to think. But it will not change how I believe in this because
Mhm.
all I can do is know what's right for me. And I think the skepticism, it also follows in the masses. You know, I think where there's collective wounds that have happened over the years, that have built this strong resistance for a lot because people don't like change. They don't want
Mhm.
to see it change. And the world is changing around us, whether we want it to or not. And there's so much uncertainty that we start grasping onto things that we know. And the only thing we know for certain is the past. So
Mhm.
when these big changes start happening, yeah, there's resistance. So I think a lot of any naysayers may come from that ability to not open up your consciousness,
Mhm.
and that's okay. This work isn't for everyone. But again, I'm not here to heal the masses. I'm here to help any individual that feels called to journey with me.
Beautiful. That is absolutely gorgeous. So now that you're here and you're at a space where you're not only courageous enough to talk about it and to do it and to start your own business along with it, with this energy, incredible Akashic energy work, where do you see yourself going, and what is the ultimate vision of Lara and your work and Mystic Queen Love, Mystic Love Queen?
Mystic Love Queen,
Yeah.
yes. Uh, Do I see? I haven't really done this visioning in a while. I think it's something I can plan to do with this next upcoming, the power of the spring equinox coming. I think today or tomorrow it actually
Tomorrow.
is tomorrow. Thank you. Visioning into like, what do I desire for this to be? Because I am somewhat straddling two worlds right now. Like I'm building this thriving business with the Akashic work and the Reiki. And then I'm operating as a hairstylist and a salon owner. So and a mother and so it always, like, there's this point where I'm like, when is it going to be too much and one thing's going to need to fall away? But there's one thing I know for right now. I don't know what the future holds, but for right now, I think it's just, I was really hoping to blend the two, to show this unique version of a salon with a spirit-based ideal and value system to it. We do offer Reiki at the salon, and I read Akashic Records at the salon. And like you say, it's not going to be for everyone, but I'm not here to listen to the judgment. I'm just providing the space if somebody needs me. And so right now I'm melting the two. And we've always had a strong focus on inner beauty in the salon, and the power of touch. And so massage has always been a huge part of all of our services. We know the power of a scalp massage and what it does to someone's spirit. That moment where you can just be still and have someone care for you with their hands, and you get to let go, and you get to just get into that brainwave of nothingness. Like, that's powerful. We've always been a huge advocate of the power of touch. And we're launching a new service tomorrow. We've been kind of giving out teasers for it in these last couple of weeks as the staff has been training for it. And we're offering a scalp spa service. And so we have a private treatment room, and we're really taking the power of touch into a longer experience. So it's a bit of an Ayurvedic approach. We know that our staff have always had issues with the healthiness of their hair, and we believe deeply that begins with the scalp and the healthiness of the scalp. So it's extreme luxury. Like, I don't think that you're going to feel anything better than this. Well, maybe there's a couple of things that feel better than this, but from what the feedback we've had has been amazing. And it's like a facial for your scalp, but better, because you walk away with amazing hair. And anyway, so it's a bit of a transformation for the salon, and it's not going to be for everybody, but for anyone that is desiring or needing it, it's here. And we're not working with the masses. We are speaking directly to our people. And that's how I choose to operate business. Like, I don't think I'm everyone's piece of cake. I'm not meant to be. I'm just meant to help change people's lives that are wanting to. It's just opening the doors and holding someone's hand as they walk through their own journey. That's what we're here for. And we've always connected. Like, the staff I love my staff. We have this beautiful community, and we know how to connect deeply with our guests. Like, it's something that sets us apart. We know the power of storytelling and the healing that happens. And that vulnerability has never been spared with my clients. They've walked through my life with me just as much as I've walked through their lives with them. It's more than hair. It's just being seen. And what else do you want? What else is there in life, is just to be heard and seen.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's the thing that most people miss in life, is to be actually truly seen and held up with love and admiration and empathy. And I think that you're nailing it right on the head by melding the two together and seeing what comes of it, without putting any cap of this is what it has to look like, but this is the desire. I want to be able to help not only in beauty but in heart. And I not only does that feel great as I'm hearing it, but it also feels light within my heart, and I'm really excited to see what you end up doing. I think that that's a really great
Oh
place
my.
to. I
It'll
think
be a surprise, whatever as it goes. Like I
exactly.
think it's the part of deep trust. You just stay open to the possibilities. I'm not in control.
Mhm.
I surrender to whatever this path looks like. And there's so many other controlling factors that I choose not to battle against. And
Yeah, no,
that's
I
been
get it. I 100% get that. You know, I've been my mom.
us.
I'm so sorry. What was that?
Sorry, COVID tested us.
Yeah.
Like that was the test.
Mhm.
That was the biggest test is don't control it. If it has to fall away, let it, because there's bigger and better things out there. Like I'm not attached to it. It's a brick and mortar. Like if I had to close the doors tomorrow, there'd be people that it would affect in a negative way. So I work really hard to keep it open.
Mhm.
But if it's not meant to be my forever, that's okay too. I know there's something great out there for me
Mhm.
around the corner. I just
Yeah.
have to step into it and try to not have any resistance around what that looks like.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I've been on the same path of surrender, especially over the last 2.5 years. I've lost everything. I've gained everything. I've lost it all over again, and you name it. I've gone through it. And while I'm walking through this path, my mom asked me, she's like, "How do you know that you're on the right path? Because everything that you've been trying just doesn't seem to be right." And I'm like, "Oh, that's a hard question, mom." And I sat with it for like a solid like 5 minutes. And I realized that in that time, I'm like, why am I still joyous? Why do I still have light? Why am I still pursuing everything that I'm pursuing? And it came to me like, and it hit me with like a ton of bricks. It's like, because I know that my path isn't my path that I'm carving. I am following the prompts of the divine that allow me to become to be used as a vessel for the divine's will.
Mhm.
And because of that, as I'm maneuvering my way through my life, it has been light, it has been bright. I'm learning how to become me. I'm learning how to become um, a servant and of service. I'm learning how to become not only a man that can stand on his 2 feet and withstand pain, but in pain be able to not cause more.
Mhm.
In pain to be able to support others. In pain to be able to say, you know what, I get truly understand what you're going through because I have felt it and I have come out the other side, and I have, as even with the battle scars, even with the deep wounds that I have within me,
Mhm.
I wear them as a badge of honor, um, because it's something that has now created a new human that that doesn't allow pain to cause more pain. And actually, this is beautiful. Yesterday, I was going through social media, and Morgan Freeman was reciting a poem, and I'm like, this is a really great poem. So I'm going to read it to you. It's the Invictus poem, and out of the light that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever God may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried out loud. Under the bludgeoning of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged the punishment of the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. And I was so moved by that.
Mhm.
It's like, you're 100%. I've got this because I can lean on the divine wholeheartedly, that no matter what I go through, no matter how drastic and painful it is, my soul is still there, still the divine. I'm
And
still.
your faith is unwavering.
Mhm.
And what, that's one of the biggest reasons we're here, is to find that deep, deep faith, no matter what happens.
Big time, big time. I constantly go back to the story of Job or the story of Moses, just, either being stripped of everything or being called to the sense of adventure. And
Mhm.
I am in both.
Yeah.
I'm in my sense of adventure. I am doing things that I would never guessed. And
Mhm.
I'm here and I'm talking to you, and we're communing in this amazing opportunity to share a story. And
Mhm.
I cannot express my gratitude enough to, first of all, for you showing up, for you being authentic and graceful and vulnerable, and then to go above and beyond and be able to leave tools behind of understanding self, of seeking, and of wisdom. And
Mhm.
I am so excited to air this and to get people to get to know you. With that being said, how can people find you, and how can people get to connect with you, with Lara?
Well, if you're local here in Saskatoon or in Saskatchewan and you're coming to Saskatoon, you can find me at Lavish District, and you can book your Akashic through my Mystic Love Queen is my Instagram handle. You can contact me at mysticlovequeen@gmail.com to communicate. If you have any questions, you want to book a consultation, and I can take you through what this process will look like for you. And yeah, you can DM me on Instagram or find me at Lavish District and leave a message with Glenna there. And there's, just going back to what you said, like nothing is constant. Any of the pain and the struggling, this is such a small window in the grand scheme of things, like you can't tell me you haven't learned something through all of the things. And there is no such thing as the wrong path.
Mhm.
Like it just is the path. Sometimes we choose a path that maybe is harder, but the lessons would have been there in this time for you to learn, whether it was this path or a different road, like it's all leading to the same place. And to think we have any sort of control in that, I think we don't, like I think it's all going to go. And I think we're all witness to that. As much as you want to try to control the outcome of everything, we're not meant to know what that is. And we don't have the power to get there on our own.
Yeah, no, I agree. One of the best lessons that I've ever learned was, this too shall pass. Whether it's good or whether it's bad, this too shall pass. So
Yeah, one of my best friends says that to me whenever whenever I'm in tears and I'm things are falling apart, and she says it and it shifts me instantly, because I know that. And she's holding that space for me and witnessing it for me. And it's a very powerful thing to say to a friend when they're going through it, like we don't need fixers out there. I don't need someone to tell me what I should and shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
That's my own path. But if you hold that space for me and tell me that this too shall pass, I'll fall into it. And that's part of the surrendering. You know, it gives me a safe place to fall.
100%. And
That's very
as a man who wants to fix and who tries to figure out what is the best way to alleviate the pain, learning and really learning how to stand in the space of this too shall pass, so that you don't have to fix. So you're not suggesting things that have worked for you in the past, but you can just live and give and say, here, let me listen, let me understand, and let me just hold you up. Let me be the vessel that God has given to you through me in order to support.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
Great. Powerful. It's just a place to be held. And I've been that fixer. I've tried. I've been in relationships trying to fix them. I attract people that need deep healing because of the vibration I give off. And it's touchy, you know, like sometimes you're like, hey, what am I in this for? Like, what am I gaining from this? And that's when the ego gets in there and there's attachment. So it's important to practice that with your friends so that you can also offer it to the rest of the world. We're just holding space. We're holding space in community, and we're holding space of support. And, you know, everyone just wants to be seen and heard, and learning how to be a really good listener is hard. It's hard. But it's valuable and worth the hard work.
Yeah. That's one of the greatest things that the podcast has been teaching me, is learning how to listen and listen better. So yes. So thank you so much, Lara. I have appreciated this conversation. You have done an incredible job. I loved it, and I cannot wait for this to air. All right.
Thank you for having me. And I'm really just proud to see you on this journey. I know you're going to do amazing. So I'm happy to be a little pebble in the ripple. So thanks for having me.
Thank you.